Hey guys, M13 here, and I am back in Winnipeg, and I'm driving through St. Vital. It's spelled St. Vital. Some guy once had a guy visiting from another city, and he's like, I was walking around asking people where St. Vital is, and they all looking at me like I'm stupid. It's Vital, which would be pronounced vital, but it's Vital because I'm guessing it's French, which I never really, I never really thought about until just this moment. The fact that the name of the area of this, the name of the part of the city, this part of this, eh, the name of the part of the city that I lived in was French, and I kind of hate French, as all English-speaking Canadians should do. Um, anyways, so yeah, just I'm admiring the clouds for one thing. Every time I come back to Canada, one of my favorite things to do is just look at the clouds because there's no air pollution where I live. I'm not going to say there's no air pollution in Canada because places like Toronto and Vancouver actually have decent amounts of pollution. But where I live, which is central Canada, the prairies, there's very little. You can't say none because there's always some, right? There's cars, so there's some, but it's almost non-existent. I don't want to pull in here. I'm in the wrong lane. Oh well. So yeah, I rented a car. It's fairly inexpensive. They actually had my car. They had like a Suzuki Swift, they had a Suzuki Swift for rent. So I got like a size or two bigger, like a step or two up from that. But it's still but they it's just such a base model. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have floodlights. It doesn't have sensors. It doesn't have. So I'm not used to driving. Feels like I'm driving a car from 15, 20 years ago. Because it's just such. They don't even sell base models in Taiwan. Like if you wanted the absolutely like stock base model of a car, you'd be hard pressed to find it. They don't really sell it. Like I've never seen a Swift without floodlights and without sensors, and I know that they sell them because one of my viewers, he asked me, he goes, I noticed that you have like, I have a space where there's supposed to be buttons, but there's no buttons there. What do those buttons do? And I'm like, well, one's for floodlights, one's for daytime, one's for like a light sensor. It detects if it's night or not, and it automatically turns on your headlights. And another one's for like sensors for like. So I'm explaining this to him. He's like, oh, and but I've never seen one in Taiwan that doesn't have that. So. And I've left St. Vital. I'm just driving around. It's amazing last time I was here was 3 or 4 years ago, but I was only here for like a week, so I was kind of rushed. So last time I was in Canada was 3 years ago, and I was here for like 7 days because I was just here to do some paperwork with regards to my marriage, getting married. So I came back and did some paperwork, and that was it. Oh, cool. And yeah, so 7 days is not a lot of time. This time I'm back for 50 days, 52, I think, and I've already used up 5 or 6. 6, I guess. 6. Yeah, so I'm 6 days in, and so I've already, if this was 3 years ago, my trip would already be over. Okay, that's it. It's amazing, and I haven't done anything because my wife was supposed to come out with me and with the son, and then she got held up at the airport and she couldn't come. She's on a later flight. She's actually arriving tonight. So it's been me taking care of my son for the last 5, 6 days, and taking care of a 2-year-old. You can't do much. Um, so I spent most of my time just sitting in her house, just like feeding him and going to the market and taking care of him and bathing him and just hanging out with him and making sure he's entertained. And plus, I didn't have a vehicle, so that also played a part. I rented the car just like the day before yesterday. So for the first 3 days, or 3 or 4 days, it actually kind of sucked, just because I didn't have a vehicle. That was the main thing. So I'm just taking care of my son in a basement of my friend's house, and I can't go anywhere or do anything. That's what it was like for the first 3, 4 days. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Just driving on the street, I got memories flooding back. I look at this place. I remember this incident. I remember that incident. What are the last 3 incidents I remembered? I remember they're not very interesting. Just little things I remember, but it might be interesting to you. Just the odd things that I remember and how I remember them. I saw a Blockbuster, and I remembered once I pulled in there on my motorcycle, and I was wearing a leather jacket, and I used to have long hair, and then there were some like younger teenagers. Like at the time I was like 19, but there were some younger teenagers like 15, and they saw me. They're like, "Hey, banger!" And I'm like, for those of you that don't know, back in the 80s, 90s, banger was an expression for someone who liked heavy metal music, like AC/DC and stuff. They were called bangers. And then the opposite of a banger would be a prep, or a preppy, someone who listened to like pop music and wore light fluorescent colors and stuff. Okay, we're leaving the city now. I don't know why I'm doing this, but why not? Yeah, so it was just funny because I was very far from being a banger. I was more like I was a raver, yeah. Like I said, they're not interesting moments. That's just what I remember. And then, oh, this is interesting. There was on this road, on the same road, St. Mary's Road, but much further back. There was a florist, and they used to have a clown. They used to stand in the middle of the road and wave to people, and they had a sign up, roses $9.99 a dozen or whatever. And I was in a, long story short, the guy who was driving the car, I was in the passenger seat, he was eating some food, and he had a food container, like a plastic bowl, and I don't know what speed limit it is here, and yeah, and it had like sweet and sour sauce in it or something, and I said to him, "You're not gonna," he starts to like, oh, he starts to roll down his window, and I'm like, and he looks like he's gonna throw it out the window, and I'm like, "You're not gonna throw garbage out the window, are you? Because we're Canadians, and that's like blasphemy." And he's like, "Yep." And he goes, "And I'm not just gonna throw it out the window. I'm gonna peg off this clown." And he points to this clown, and the clown was like a 16-year-old girl. And I'm like, "No, you're not." And sure enough, he throws it out the window. So he's in a car doing 60 kilometers an hour. He throws it forward out the window. Probably wouldn't add much speed because the wind would slow down his throw. But nonetheless, it's still moving at about 60 kilometers an hour. And he not only hits the clown, he hits her directly between the eyes as she turns. Like she was facing away from us. Am I allowed to pass like this? I think so. I'm just gonna pass them on, you guys. Yeah, so she turned, she was facing away, and just as he threw it, she was turning to face our direction, so she didn't see it coming, but it was just perfect timing. And then when she was facing us, she just as she finished turning to face us, she got it right between the eyes, and it looked like it knocked her out, like she collapsed. And then I'll remember it to the day I die. And then the next day, and then like she collapsed. She went limp. Her whole body went limp. Probably more out of shock than actual pain, because it couldn't have been. It's a plastic container. It's not going to be too hard or heavy or whatnot. So then I just remember that for the next day I was driving down that road and she wasn't there, and then the next day after that she wasn't there, and the next day after that she wasn't there, and the next day after that someone new was there. It was like a guy. So not only did we like hurt some 16-year-old girl, she like quit her job because of it, so it's like, ugh. I felt horrible, but like I said, it wasn't me that threw the thing, and I wouldn't have thrown something like that. That's not something I would do. How's this for views, eh? See, you can see the rain over there, and perfectly clear sky, and then some rain over there. And it's just, you guys have seen my videos of Taiwan. You can't see that far in Taiwan. You can't see for miles and miles like you can here, and in all directions, and everything's just perfectly beautiful and clear. That's one of the things I enjoy most about coming home. I just enjoy this. Just looking looking left and seeing for 100 miles in that direction, and looking to the right and seeing for 100 miles in that direction. I miss that. I miss it a lot. What was the other thing I remembered? Oh, there was a guy. I was driving my car at the time, and some guy, I was in the right lane. There's some parked cars up ahead, and there's no one beside me, and so I put on my left turn signal and I start to pull out, and there was a car behind me to my left, and when he saw me wanting to change lanes, he accelerated, and then he got beside me, not a lot, but like he got his nose beside me, and he was some like asshole in a suit driving a BMW. So here I am. This parked cars, it's 2 lanes, and this parked cars, I'm in the right lane, parked cars are in front of me, I'm going to smash into the back of the parked cars. I put my left turn signal on, start to move over, the guy behind me accelerates. I accelerate also, and we're pretty much neck and neck. He's got a BMW, but I had an older car, like an older cheap car, but it was powerful. It was like a 7.4 liter engine, Chevy Impala, 1976, I think, or 75, I don't know, in a 1970 something Chevy Impala with a 7.4 liter engine. So I hit the gas and he hits the gas, and we're kind of like just pacing each other, but he's still a little bit beside me, and then the parked cars are coming up ahead, and then so I lay off the gas a bit, but I realize I can't even brake in time. If I brake, I'm still going to smash into these parked cars. So I move over as much as I can, and I force him over a bit, but he still doesn't let off the gas. So he's beside me, and I'm driving like in between 2 lanes, and then there's parked cars on my right, and then and there's me in between, kind of like straddling both lanes, and him on my left, and then that was it pretty much. He actually, when he passed me, his mirror hit my mirror. His mirror like clipped my mirror, and then once his mirror clipped my mirror and he was in front of me, I hit the brakes and I turned off, which is kind of a cowardly thing to do. But I knew that if our cars touched, it would be my fault because I wasn't in a lane, and I was correct because I phoned the insurance people afterwards and I explained the situation, and they're like, yeah, you'd technically be at fault because you weren't in a lane. He was fully in his lane, and the parked cars were fully in theirs, and you were in both. So what? So yeah, and that's one of my biggest regrets in life, is not smashing into that guy's car, because he was such an asshole, and I had this huge tank of a car. What I should have done was, when his nose was about halfway up the side of my car, I should have just should have smashed into him, and it would have sent him flying into either the oncoming lane or into like this, like he would have hit one of the poles that are in the cement divider in the middle. Like, it would have destroyed him, and it would have done nothing to me because my car was a tank and I was more ahead of him. So I would have just pushed him off the road and I would have continued along straight, I'm fairly certain. So oddly enough, that's in like my top, if I were to like evaluate my whole life, and this is really rather sad, in my top 10 biggest, top 5 probably, let's say top 10, give myself some credit, benefit of the doubt. In my top 10 biggest regrets for my life, one of them would be not smashing that guy off the road. And that's it.